Welcome to Life Story 999. Today's story is an inspiring tale of hope and perseverance, showing how acts of kindness can shape lives in unexpected ways. Follow the journey of a struggling restaurant owner who, despite his challenges, opens his doors to a homeless father and daughter. What follows is a journey of unexpected support, resilience, and love. Don't forget to like, comment on your thoughts, and subscribe for more heartfelt stories. In a quiet, aging town, Jackson found himself staring at the empty tables of his beloved restaurant, a place that had once been the vibrant heart of the community. The laughter, the clinking of glasses, and the hum of conversation that had once filled the air were now nothing but memories. Jackson, the proud owner, had poured his heart and soul into this place, but with customers dwindling and debts piling up, he was forced to confront the harsh reality. His restaurant was on the brink of closure. For Jackson, it wasn't just about the money. It was about the memories tied to each worn chair, every scratch on the floor, and the walls that had witnessed countless stories. But as the bills continued to mount and the prospect of selling grew more real each day, Jackson was beginning to feel the weight of his situation crush his spirit. The townspeople had moved on. New eateries had sprung up, and Jackson's once beloved restaurant had been left behind, struggling to stay relevant. One particularly bleak afternoon, as Jackson sat at the counter, nursing a cup of coffee and staring at the for sale sign he had reluctantly placed in the window, the bell above the door chimed. In walked Thomas, a weary man with a weathered face, holding the hand of his young daughter, Sophie. Their clothes were worn, and there was a tiredness in their eyes that spoke of struggles Jackson knew all too well. They weren't there to eat. Thomas had come to ask if there was any work he could do in exchange for a warm place to stay, even if just for a few nights. Jackson looked at them, taking in the sight of Sophie, her wide eyes filled with both curiosity and innocence. There was something about the way she clung to her father's hand, the way Thomas looked at her, that struck a chord deep within Jackson. He saw not just a man down on his luck, but a father doing everything he could to protect his little girl. The thought of turning them away felt like a betrayal of everything he believed in. After a moment's hesitation, Jackson nodded. "You can stay in the storage room for now. It's not much, but it's warm," he said, his voice gruff but kind. That night, as Thomas and Sophie settled into their temporary shelter, Jackson couldn't help but feel a sense of purpose that had long been missing. He brought them some leftover soup and bread, and as they ate, they exchanged stories. Thomas spoke of the good times before he lost his job, of how they ended up on the streets, and of his hopes to one day give Sophie a better life. Jackson listened, nodding, sharing his own story of the restaurant's heyday and the struggles that had brought him to this point. In the quiet of that aging town, an unlikely bond began to form. Jackson, Thomas, and little Sophie found solace in each other's company. Amidst the uncertainty, the restaurant became more than just a building with tables and chairs. It became a haven, a place where three souls, each facing their own struggles, could find a moment of peace and hope together. As days turned into weeks, a friendship began to blossom between Jackson and Thomas, forged in the fires of shared adversity. Thomas, once a successful advertising agent with a bright career, now found himself navigating an uncertain life. He had exhausted his savings trying to keep afloat after the economic downturn, but ultimately, he ended up on the streets with his daughter, Sophie. His story was one of resilience, of trying again and again despite the odds to provide for his little girl. Jackson listened, empathizing with the man who was doing his best to hold it together. In return, Jackson shared the story of his restaurant, once bustling and full of life. He spoke of the community that had gathered there, the people who celebrated birthdays, anniversaries, and quiet evenings within its walls. The decline had been gradual, almost imperceptible, until one day the tables were empty and the bills were insurmountable. As Thomas listened, he understood the emotional weight that Jackson carried. The weight of dreams slipping away, of something cherished fading beyond reach. Their conversations often took place late at night, after Sophie had gone to sleep. The two men would sit at a table by the window, looking out at the quiet street, their voices low as they spoke of past hopes and future fears. It was during these times that Jackson began to see his restaurant not as a failure, but as a place that still held meaning. A place that could offer shelter, comfort, and maybe even a fresh start. Thomas's presence brought a sense of purpose back to Jackson's life, a reason to keep the doors open a little longer. Sophie, meanwhile, was a bright light in their otherwise difficult days. Her laughter echoed through the empty dining area, her innocent curiosity bringing warmth that Jackson hadn't felt in a long time. She would draw pictures on napkins, telling stories about princesses and castles, and she always made sure to include Jackson as a character, a kind innkeeper who provided food and warmth. Her joy was infectious, and Jackson found himself smiling more often, his heart softening to the idea that perhaps his restaurant could be more than just a business. It could be a home. One rainy afternoon, as the three of them sat together sharing a simple meal, Jackson felt something shift. Watching Thomas tenderly brush a strand of hair from Sophie's face as she animatedly described her latest drawing, Jackson realized that this little family had brought his restaurant back to life in a way he never anticipated. It wasn't filled with customers, but it was filled with warmth, with laughter, with hope. And that, in that moment, felt like enough. The bond between Jackson and Thomas grew stronger, built on mutual respect and the understanding that they were both fighting for something greater than themselves. They were not just two men down on their luck. They were two fathers, one by blood, one by circumstance, doing everything they could to protect what mattered most. And together, in that quiet, aging town, they began to find the strength to face whatever came next. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Jackson sat across from Thomas at one of the empty tables, a heavy sigh escaping his lips. "I think I might have to sell soon," Jackson admitted, his voice laced with resignation. He looked down at his hands, the weight of the decision evident in his weary posture. Thomas felt his heart sink. The restaurant had become more than just a building. It was a sanctuary, a place where he and Sophie had found warmth, food, and safety. The thought of losing it was devastating. Thomas leaned forward, his eyes searching Jackson's face. "There must be something we can do," he said, his voice edged with determination. Jackson shook his head slowly. "I've tried everything, discounts, specials, even late-night events. Nothing's worked. People just aren't coming in anymore." The silence that followed was thick with unspoken fears. Thomas knew what was at stake, not just for Jackson but for him and Sophie as well. He couldn't let this place slip away without a fight. Thomas sat back, staring at the walls covered in faded pictures and memories. Then, as if a light had flickered on inside his mind, an idea began to take shape. He had been an advertising agent once, a good one too. Maybe, just maybe, he could use his skills to turn things around. "Jackson, what if we tried something different?" Thomas began, his voice growing steadier as the idea formed. "I used to work in advertising. I know how to attract attention, create buzz. Let me help. Let me try to bring in more customers. In exchange, Sophie and I can keep staying in the storage room until we see where things go." Jackson looked up, his eyes narrowing slightly in doubt. "Advertising? I don't know, Thomas. I've tried flyers, social media posts. None of it made a difference." But Thomas shook his head, a hint of a smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "Not like that. What we need is something fresh, something that will get people talking. We can create an experience that makes people want to come in, not just for food, but for the story. Let me handle it. You've already done so much for us. This is my way to give back." Jackson hesitated, the hope in Thomas's voice conflicting with the doubts that had taken root in his heart. He wanted to believe, wanted to think that there was still a chance to save everything he had worked for. After a long pause, he finally nodded. "All right, Thomas. Let's give it a try. I don't have much left to lose, and maybe, just maybe, we can make something happen." The two men shook hands, a silent pact forged between them. For the first time in what felt like forever, Jackson felt a glimmer of hope. It was fragile, like a candle flickering in the wind, but it was there. And with Thomas's determination and the spark of an unexpected idea, they were ready to fight. To turn the tide and bring life back into the old restaurant one customer at a time. The next morning, Thomas and Jackson wasted no time putting their plan into action. They worked together, brainstorming ideas that would draw people in, and finally settled on a mystery dish promotion. The concept was simple but intriguing. Customers would order a surprise dish, and if they guessed its name correctly, they would win a free dessert. It was a playful challenge designed to get people talking, and they hoped it would create enough buzz to bring curious patrons through the door. Thomas made a small sign for the promotion and placed it outside the entrance. The words, "Can you guess the mystery dish? Win a free dessert," were scrawled in bold letters, inviting people to try something new. Jackson watched with a mixture of anxiety and anticipation as Thomas set up the sign, wondering if this bold move would work or if it would be another failed attempt to save his restaurant. But Thomas's enthusiasm was infectious, and Jackson couldn't help but feel a flicker of optimism. That afternoon, the first curious customer walked in. A young couple, intrigued by the sign, decided to give it a try. They were seated at a table, and Jackson himself served them the mystery dish, a carefully crafted pasta dish with a unique blend of spices. The couple laughed and chatted as they tried to decipher the flavors, guessing playfully while Jackson watched from the counter, his heart pounding with hope. When they finally guessed correctly, the smiles on their faces and their excitement over the free dessert were enough to give Jackson a renewed sense of purpose. Word began to spread quickly. The mystery dish promotion brought in more customers, each eager to take part in the fun. Some came alone, others with friends or family, all drawn by the chance to win a dessert and the thrill of the challenge. The once empty restaurant started to fill with laughter and conversation, and Jackson could hardly believe his eyes. The energy in the place shifted, and for the first time in a long while, it felt alive again. Sophie, ever eager to help, became a little assistant to both Jackson and Thomas. She would greet customers with her bright smile, lead them to their tables, and even help clear dishes. Her innocence and enthusiasm were contagious, and the patrons adored her. Many of them commented on how charming and delightful she was, and her presence made the restaurant feel like a welcoming, family-friendly place. Jackson found himself smiling more often, his heart swelling with gratitude for the little girl who had brought so much light into his life. The success of the promotion was undeniable. People were talking about the restaurant again, sharing their experiences on social media and recommending it to friends. It wasn't just about the food. It was about the experience, the warmth, and the sense of community that was slowly returning. Jackson and Thomas worked tirelessly, but the hard work was paying off. The restaurant was coming back to life, one dish at a time, and with each new customer, the future seemed a little brighter. With the restaurant gaining momentum, a new surprise awaited everyone. Jackson's daughter, Emma, decided to join the efforts to save her father's beloved eatery. Emma had always been passionate about music, though she rarely performed in public. She had kept her talents mostly to herself, singing in her room or playing guitar when she thought no one was listening. But seeing the restaurant come back to life, she felt a spark of inspiration, a desire to contribute in her own special way. One evening, as the restaurant bustled with energy, Emma approached her father and Thomas, a guitar case slung over her shoulder and a hint of determination in her eyes. "I want to help," she said simply. Jackson looked at his daughter, a mix of surprise and pride on his face. Thomas smiled, intrigued by what she had in mind. Emma explained her idea: to perform live music during the evenings, to bring even more warmth and a personal touch to the restaurant experience. That night, Emma took her place in a small corner of the restaurant, her guitar resting on her knee. The lights were dimmed slightly, and the chatter of patrons quieted as they turned to see her. She strummed the first few chords, her voice soft yet powerful as it filled the room. Her music was soulful, each note resonating with genuine emotion. The crowd was captivated, their attention fully on Emma as she sang from the heart. Jackson watched, his eyes misty with pride. He had always known his daughter was talented, But seeing her share her gift so openly, surrounded by people who appreciated it, filled him with an indescribable sense of joy. Emma's live performances quickly became a staple attraction. Her music added a unique charm to the restaurant, turning ordinary dinners into special memories. Regular patrons began to bring friends just to hear her sing, and new faces filled the tables, drawn by the warmth of her voice and the heartfelt melodies. The once struggling eatery was now filled with laughter, music, and the clinking of glasses. The atmosphere had shifted entirely. No longer just a place to eat, the restaurant had become a gathering spot where people could relax, enjoy good food, and feel connected. Thomas, watching Emma perform night after night, felt something unexpected stirring within him. Her voice, her strength, her willingness to step out of her comfort zone to help her father. All of it moved him deeply. He found himself drawn to her, and soon it wasn't just about saving the restaurant. It was about being part of something bigger, part of a family. Sophie, ever observant, picked up on Thomas's growing affection for Emma. One evening, she whispered to him with a mischievous smile, "I think Emma would make a great mommy, don't you?" Thomas chuckled, his heart swelling with warmth at the thought. With Emma's music filling the air, the restaurant truly became a place of joy and connection. The tables were full, not just with regular customers, but with new faces eager to experience the magic that had taken hold. The once fading dream was now vibrant and alive, a testament to the power of family, community, and the courage to share one's talents with the world. With each passing day, the restaurant continued to thrive. The once empty tables were now filled with patrons, and the mystery dish promotion remained a hit, sparking curiosity and excitement among customers. People loved the sense of fun and unpredictability that came with each meal, and the buzz around town only grew stronger. Emma's performances had become a beloved feature, attracting a loyal following who came not just for the food, but also for the warmth of her voice and the atmosphere she created. The restaurant, which had once echoed with the silence of empty chairs and vacant tables, was now alive with chatter, laughter, and the clinking of silverware. Families, couples, and groups of friends filled the dining area, their faces lit up with smiles. Jackson could hardly believe the transformation. Each time he looked around, seeing the tables occupied and his daughter's music filling the room, he felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. It wasn't just about saving a business. It was about saving a dream, and the dream was now more alive than ever. Thomas, too, found himself more at home in the restaurant than he had ever imagined. He worked tirelessly alongside Jackson, taking orders, serving dishes, and making sure every customer had an unforgettable experience. He had become a part of the family, and the bond he shared with Jackson and Emma only deepened with each passing day. Sophie, always eager to help, continued to charm the customers, her cheerful demeanor brightening even the busiest of evenings. She was the heart of the restaurant, her innocence and joy reminding everyone why they were working so hard. The restaurant's revenue steadily increased, and Jackson finally allowed himself to hope for the future. It wasn't just the money. It was the sense of community, the friendships that were forming, and the feeling that his restaurant had become something far greater than just a place to eat. It had become a symbol of resilience and hope, a place where people came to connect, to celebrate, and to find comfort. The day Jackson took down the "For Sale" sign was a day of quiet triumph. He carefully removed it from the window, his heart swelling with emotion as he acknowledged that this was no longer just a business. It was a home. Emma's music, Thomas's unwavering support, and Sophie's bright spirit had all played a part in the restaurant's revival. Jackson knew that none of this would have been possible without the love and dedication of those around him. He had started this journey feeling lost and defeated, but now he stood surrounded by family and friends. The restaurant filled with the life he had once feared was gone forever. Each night, as the last customers left and the lights were dimmed, Jackson would stand for a moment, taking it all in, the warmth, the laughter, the sense of belonging. It was more than he had ever hoped for. The restaurant had transformed from a struggling business into a vibrant gathering place, a testament to the power of hope, love, and community. It was no longer just Jackson's dream. It was a shared dream, brought to life by the people who believed in it. And as the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, the restaurant continued to thrive, a beacon of light in their quiet, aging town. As time went on, the bond between Thomas and Emma grew stronger, an unspoken connection that became more apparent with each passing day. They spent countless hours together, working side by side in the restaurant, sharing laughter during quiet moments, and supporting each other through the long, busy shifts. It was clear to everyone around them that they were more than just friends. Even Sophie noticed, often giving Thomas a knowing smile whenever Emma was near. One evening, after the last customer had left and the restaurant was quiet, Jackson approached Thomas as they stood by the counter. Jackson had watched their relationship blossom, and he could see the love in Thomas's eyes whenever he looked at Emma. With a gentle smile, Jackson said, "You know, Thomas, life's too short to hold back. Emma deserves happiness, and so do you. If you care for her, don't be afraid to show it. Pursue what makes you happy." Thomas was taken aback at first, but Jackson's words resonated deeply within him. He knew Jackson was right. It was time to take a step forward. A few weeks later, with Sophie's enthusiastic help, Thomas planned a simple yet heartfelt proposal. He chose a quiet evening at the restaurant when it was just the three of them, Jackson, Emma, and Sophie. As the soft glow of candlelight filled the room, Thomas took Emma's hand, his heart pounding with both nerves and hope. He spoke honestly, sharing how much she meant to him, how she had brought light into his life during his darkest days. Emma's eyes filled with tears as he knelt down and asked her to be his partner, not just in the restaurant, but in life. Emma's answer was an emotional yes, and in that moment, the restaurant erupted in joy. Jackson clapped his hands, tears shining in his eyes, while Sophie jumped up and down, cheering for the new beginning that awaited them all. Their union was more than just a romantic commitment. It was a celebration of love, resilience, and the power of coming together to face life's challenges. The once struggling restaurant had not only found success, but had also brought together a family. With Emma now officially part of Thomas and Sophie's lives, a new chapter began. Sophie, overjoyed, gained a loving mother figure in Emma. The two quickly grew close, sharing laughter and bonding over small moments, whether it was baking desserts in the kitchen or reading bedtime stories after a long day. Emma brought a warmth and tenderness that completed their little family, and Thomas couldn't have been happier. He had found not only a partner, but also someone who loved his daughter as much as he did. Jackson watched this new family come together with a heart full of gratitude. He had started this journey thinking he might lose everything, but instead, he had gained so much more. His restaurant, once a place filled with uncertainty, had transformed into a haven of love and hope. It wasn't just a business. It was the heart of a new family. And every time Jackson looked around, seeing Emma, Thomas, and Sophie laughing and working together, he knew that this was exactly what he had always dreamed of, a home filled with love, support, and endless possibilities. As we reach the conclusion of this heartfelt story, it becomes clear that the journey of Jackson, Thomas, Emma, and Sophie is one filled with powerful lessons about kindness, resilience, and the beauty of unexpected blessings. At its core, this story is a testament to the idea that the darkest moments in life can often pave the way for the brightest beginnings, and that genuine acts of compassion can change not only lives but also destinies. Jackson, faced with the impending loss of his beloved restaurant, chose to open his doors to Thomas and Sophie without expecting anything in return. It was a simple act of kindness, one that came from the heart, a choice to extend a helping hand rather than turn away. By allowing Thomas and Sophie into his life, Jackson not only saved his struggling business, but also gained something far more precious, a family. This new family, forged in the fires of adversity, became his source of hope, joy, and fulfillment. Thomas's resilience, despite the hardships he faced, teaches us the importance of perseverance. He refused to give up even when life seemed to have taken everything from him. Instead of succumbing to despair, he used his skills to bring new life to the restaurant and, in the process, found love and belonging. Emma's courage to share her music and her heart showed that sometimes, stepping out of our comfort zone can lead to the most beautiful and rewarding experiences. And Sophie, with her innocent charm and unwavering belief in the goodness of those around her, reminded everyone that true joy often comes from the simplest moments of love and connection. Together, they turned a struggling restaurant into a thriving gathering place, a beacon of light for the community. The for sale sign that once hung in the window was taken down, not because of a miracle, but because of the collective effort of people who cared deeply for one another. It was a transformation that went beyond financial success. It was about creating a space where people could come together, celebrate, and find comfort in each other's company. This story inspires us to believe in the power of unity and compassion. It reminds us that, even in the face of adversity, we have the ability to make a difference, not just in our own lives, but in the lives of others. The impact of a single act of kindness can ripple outward, creating change in ways we may never fully understand. By choosing love, by choosing to care, we can build something truly beautiful, just as Jackson, Thomas, Emma, and Sophie did. If you enjoyed this story, please take a moment to like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Life Story 999 for more inspiring tales of resilience and hope. Your support encourages us to continue sharing these heartfelt stories, and we can't wait to bring you the next one. Thank you for being part of our journey. Together, we can spread more love and light to the world.